Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about Speak No Evil. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. So, reviews for this movie are quite good, actually. Has an 86% critic score. Popcorn meter, aka audience score, is 85%, which is solid enough. Its cinema score, same thing, a B plus, which is actually higher than average for a movie like this, because horror movies have it rough on cinema score. So a B plus is basically like an A plus over there. So yeah, word of mouth overall is good across the board. So yeah, good critic score, good audience score, good cinema score. All of that is rock solid. That's a pro. Another pro is that this is a remake of like a Danish movie that came out 2 years ago. This is the American remake of that, which you don't really see too often nowadays. Like American remakes of like foreign films, like that happened like all the time, especially with like Japanese horror flicks, J horror movies. Happened all the time in the early 2000s, like The Ring, The Grudge, and all that. So it's kind of rare to see like a foreign movie being like remade, you know, for like I guess American audiences. But the original version of this movie does have a really good reputation for what I've looked into it, and obviously, that's a good omen, right? That's a good thing that the original movie was, very well received. So, but obviously with that, it could lead to like danger of like, oh God, the darn Americans are gonna screw everything up. Those darn Westerners are gonna ruin this movie. But that wasn't the case this time. Because yeah, there are some really bad American remakes out there, but this is not one of them. So especially after I watched it, because I did watch this movie. I watched it earlier today, and I thought it was really good. I thought it did its job. Being like very like tense, very like have this uncomfortable vibe to it. Where like your main guy here, who's played by James McAvoy, he's give off these really weird vibes, and you learn out later that there's a reason for said weird vibes. Like the movie does a good job at making you feel like you just want to like leave these people. You want to get out of there. So yeah, but the original movie is very well received, has a good reputation. So that's a pro. Another pro is that this movie stars one James McAvoy. And yeah, I mean, James McAvoy, like, he's a long ways away from like where he started. I mean, he was Mr. Tumnus in the first Narnia movie, where he was basically like this dude who's like I forgot what he had, like this furry. He was like half human. They had furry legs, wore no pants. I don't know what's going on there, but that's just how his character was designed. So it's like that. There's, I guess, Atonement. I guess Wanted was a big one, and then young Professor X, young Charles Xavier in X Men First Class, and then Days of Future Past and X Men Apocalypse, and Dark Phoenix, and his little cameo in Deadpool 2. Well, that's not all. He's done other stuff. Split, big one right there. That was a showcase for him with like all the different personalities he portrayed in that movie. And Split was a huge hit back in 2017. It's also in Atomic Blonde, Glass, It Chapter 2, and here he is in Speak No Evil. And James McAvoy, I always liked him. He's definitely like a favorite of mine. So yeah, to see him have like another like showcase movie like this, like that's good in my book. So yeah, James McAvoy, I'd label him as a pro. Um, I guess another pro is that you have like Blumhouse, and I already talked about Blumhouse like literally 2 weeks ago. I'm not gonna go over too much detail because it's pointless, but I am just gonna highlight their big hits to show you like how big they are. So Paranormal Activity, Paranormal Activity 2, Insidious, Paranormal Activity 3, Sinister, Paranormal Activity 4, I guess, even though it's kind of a box office disappointment. The Purge, Insidious Chapter 2, Purge Anarchy, Whiplash. Well, that was more of like a critical darling than like a smash hit. Ouija, like Unfriended to like a small extent. Let's see, The Visit was a big one. Well, not really a big one, but it was a nice little hit. Purge Election Year, Split, Get Out, two huge hits right there. Happy Death Day, City's the Last Key, Truth or Dare, First Purge. Let's keep going. Halloween 2018, Glass. Uh, let's see. What else? Gotta keep going. Invisible Man, Halloween Kills, Black Phone, Halloween Ends. That kind of flopped. Megan, Insidious: The Red Door, Five Nights at Freddy's, all hits, all making some nice money. Especially Five Nights at Freddy's. That thing opened for over $80 million last year. That was crazy. So yeah, Blumhouse, they're a money making machine. It helps that a lot of their movies are hella cheap. So that's a pro. But we have to talk about cons. And let's talk about Blumhouse again, because man, they have not been doing that well this year. Not at all. You see, I mentioned all their hits, but that doesn't mean they're without. They never made like a flop before, because they've had made some flops. The most recent one was Afraid, which just came out 2 weeks ago, and it is one of their worst performing movies ever. Like, that is wild. I mean, it only opened with like 3 million. It's only made like 6 million. Like, that is embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. And Imaginary Night Swim, they weren't exactly hits either. They did like mid at best. And I mean, Exorcist Believer, that killed a trilogy right there. Because it was so poorly received. Then Halloween Ends, that ended the trilogy on like a really bad note. Like that. There's some other ones in here. The Hunt, I'm not going to count because that was because of COVID and just shit that was completely out of that movie's control. Not to mention the political atmosphere. That didn't help it either. Um, Black Christmas was a flop. Um, the Happy Death Day 2 to you was a disappointment. Glass didn't really live up to high expectations, even though it still did all right at the end of the day. I forgot. Well, Black Klansman, that was a hit, but that's not. It doesn't really fit the Blumhouse vibe. It's mostly just because it was like produced by Jason Blum, but Jason Blum's bread and butter is horror movies. So yeah, I'm trying to like find some other flops, some other like serious L's. Oh, a classic, Gem and the Holograms, a movie that only lasted 2 whole weeks in the cinema. How can I forget that? But yeah, so Blumhouse, they have a lot of hits, but that doesn't mean like their track record is flawless, because they've made some flops, and this year has not been very kind to them. So that's something to note. So that's kind of a con. Another con is that you have another horror movie, a horror-esque movie coming out next weekend, Never Let Go. That could be a problem. Unless Never Let Go is absolute trash, then maybe it won't be a problem. Um, but that's still direct competition. So that's obviously not a good thing. And I guess what other horror movies are coming out? I know Smile 2. That is all the way in October. So this will be already played out by then. So Yeah, yeah, direct competition from Never Let Go and just all. Yeah, Beetlejuice still killing it out there. You got Transformers 1 and Wild Robot coming out in a few weeks. Joker 2 is very much gonna murder every September movie that's out there. So all that is a problem. So that's a con. And I think that's really it. Yeah. I think that's. Oh, I should mention it's Thursday previews. They aren't listed here. I think I made like 1.3 million. Let me check though. I'm pretty sure. I'll if it like loads. Yeah, 1.3 million. So I mean that's pretty solid. For especially for like a non-franchise movie like this. I forgot to mention it's Friday the 13th. Well, it was Friday the 13th, which is the spooky day. And a movie opening a horror movie on like Friday the 13th, it just makes sense. It's just logical sense. So yeah, I guess that's a pro too. Yeah, 1.3 million Thursday preview. I say that's quite all right. So that's a pro. But opening weekend, what I'm seeing, it's it's expected to open with a 12.5 million, which I mean, I guess is like, I guess, yeah, yeah. I guess I could stick with that. Yeah, I'll make 13 million. I'm gonna go be a little more optimistic. 13 million. Um, Opening weekend, and its total. Its legs should be okay. It should be all right, considering its word of mouth being as good as it is. So I'm gonna say maybe like 30, 40 million, probably closer to 40 million, and that's it. So we're done for the weekend. Yay! So next week we got three movies: Never Let Go, The Substance, I guess, and Transformers One. So stay tuned for those next week. But yeah, so that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage. All previous prediction videos I made this year, the past few years. Want to watch any of those videos? Go right ahead. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. Um, yeah, any particular month. I just did my August recap like a couple hours ago, and my September recap that won't be until between like the 4th and the 11th of October. So stay tuned for that. And my two-part summer 2024 recap won't be till about 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2-ish weeks from now. Winners and losers. So stay tuned for that as well. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. There's also box office, the canceled series, where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I've talked about Speak No Evil before. Yeah, I've talked about it twice. So the first time was episode 186. Talked about it alongside Love Again, Next Goal Wins, and Night Swim. I said, and in the description, I said, I don't care about any of these movies. Fun fact, like, Speak No Evil is the only movie I've seen out of the four. It's the only one I want to see out of the four. And that's what I did. And Speak No, I talked about it like another time. It was episode 229. I talked about it alongside Civil War and Unbreakable Boy. So those are the two times I talked about it in the canceled series. If you want to watch any of the 250 episodes I've made of that series, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.